Hello and welcome to another video. I'm Northern Soul Reaper and today we are reviewing chapter 10 of The Guardian of the Witch. Before we kick things off, if you like these kind of videos, please consider leaving a like, subscribing to the channel and ringing the bell. That's the best way to get the videos as and when they come out. It's a great way to support the channel. Thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed so far. I also have Twitter and Instagram. I'm going to leave the tags somewhere in the video and also links down below in the description. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. Give those a follow if you want to see what I'm reading or what I'm watching at the moment, or if you just want to see pictures of my cats. They're on there as well. As always, this is a spoiler-filled review, so feel free to go read it on the Shonen Jump app, come back, and then we can discuss the chapter in detail. So the chapter kicks off with Fafner and Manafsa facing off once again against Drake, and he says this looks to be at the end of their training, and he says to them that he's taught them everything that he knows. These are the basics of Guardian Witch fighting when battling against Guardian Witch pairs. So this looks to be the techniques that he's instilled on them is to do with fighting the likes of Gen and Ruli. And he says that he's now fulfilled his original promise, he's taught them everything he knows, and now they are wanted criminals. And so he powers up using all of the different magical seeds. So we've got the icicle seed, the fire seed, the water seed, the lightning seed, and the zephyr seed, which I looked up, and one possible meaning for that could be that it's like a wind power. So he powers up with those, and on the next page Fafner and Manafsa begin their power up, and Fafner is like saying he needs to let Manafsa's power flow into him, so she puts her hands on his back, and the result is he powers and channels it into his sword, and he makes that flaming sword once again that they've used previously, and the battle begins. Fafner rushes towards Drake for the first bout in this battle. Fafner and Drake clash swords, with Drake using the different seeds to his advantage during this fight, and Fafner thinking to himself that he now appreciates how much power Drake is able to extract from these tiny little seeds now that he understands the flow of magic. And he says it's not only that you can get such power out of it, Drake is able to use these seeds in different ways, so that in different combinations where it keeps you guessing about what he's going to do. Drake uses the water seed to splash water, and then the icicle seed comes in to freeze Fafner's blade and foot in place, whilst he's also using the icicle seed to block certain attacks as well. And at this point we get a little bit of a flashback, which looks to be, we get a bit of a lecture about using a witch's power, and one of the things that Drake is saying is that the use of a witch's power, overuse of the witch's power, is what exacerbates the evil, the seed of evil. So when she overextends her power, this stimulates the evil and it grows more. This is what causes the evil to grow more over time. So it's a guardian's job to channel that energy and make maximum use and maximum force out of a smaller amount of magic. So when a witch and a guardian fight together, the witch can expend as little magic as possible, but the guardian is able to amplify it and use it to its fullest potential, which means that not only are they getting a really powerful attack out of it, the witch is using minimal magic, which means that she's not going to be as tired, and it also means that the evil inside of her isn't going to be grown. So that's the absolute pinnacle, the absolute centre point of these teachings, is to try and get Manafsa's power from as much of Manafsa's power from as little a starting point as possible. It's Fafner's job to amplify that and really use it to its fullest potential. And in the next panel we get to see that Manafsa and Fafner working together. Fafner's foot is currently frozen to the floor, so Manafsa uses a fireball while Drake comes at them. She uses a fireball to distract him, so he has to block it, and it gives them a little bit of time to get away and regroup. But Drake, being the teacher that he is, he's not having any of it. He says, you're being too direct again. Use less straightforward attacks, be more clever about it. And he then uses this moment as a teaching moment. He says, you do know that for every action there's an opposite reaction as well. That goes for magic as well. Everything you send at me, I'm going to send back at you. So he takes Manafsa's fireball and he shoots it back at them. So things aren't going too great, and between Fafner and Manafsa, they seem to realise that the fight's not going very well and they need to regroup. So Manafsa puts up a smoke screen and it allows them to run away and hide. As they get away, Drake is basically thinking to himself, he realises that they've used a smoke screen, and he's saying that they're realising that they can't beat him, and it means that they may have to rely more and more on the witch's power. But if they do that, well, they were just a disappointment from the start. Drake wants them to work together. Drake wants them to pull through and work together to get through this and beat him. He wants them to be able to think smarter and, you know, come up with better attacks, less straightforward attacks, cleverer attacks, and use their powers together to their fullest. He wants them to beat him. So at this point, while Drake is thinking about this, our two heroes are cowering behind a rock. And Fafner says, how are we going to beat him? The fire sword that we practiced isn't doing anything. You know, forget winning. We can't even land a single hit on him. So Manafsa says, in order to win, let me do it. I'll blast him with the biggest, most concentrated ball of fire that I can. I'll use all of my power to absolutely decimate him with a fireball. To which Fafner isn't too enthusiastic about this. He says, Manafsa, remember what Drake said. If you use all of your power like this, it's going to have detrimental effects on you. It's pointless. It's pointless using all of your power if you're just going to. It's pointless winning the fight if you're just going to turn into an evil. And Manafsa says, well, it's all going to be for nothing if we don't win here and now. If we can't beat him, it's all for nothing anyway. And she says, Fafner, do you remember when you told me that you don't have any regrets about becoming my guardian and deserting the city-state? Well, I do. I regret it all. She says, I was so ignorant. I didn't realise how little of my own magic I actually controlled. I don't even understand my own magic. I'm stupid and weak, and I've put in danger the only two people in the world who were willing to rescue me. So even if it means feeding my life force into the fire, I will beat him. And she's powering up this huge attack ready, and just as she's going to get ready to go out and use it, Fafner puts his hands on her face and he says, stop. You know, he calms her down and he says, you're not the only one who's put other people in danger and who was ignorant and didn't realise what they were getting into. I've done those things too. And he says, we're both in this together, you and me. If you ever really feel like you want to push yourself past your limits like that, just know that I'm not going to let it go without a fight. It's not going to be that easy for you to just push past it. I'm going to disagree with you. And Manafsa says, why do you always go this far for me, Fafner? And he says, that's it, that's an easy one. I'm your guardian. And there's that loyalty. You know, one thing that I'm learning about Fafner is that once he's pledged himself to someone, you know, as he's pledged himself to Manafsa, and that loyalty is really strong. That bond that he is basically put himself into is iron. He's not going to break it for anything. So they come out ready to face Drake once more. And Drake says, are you both ready now? And he says, yes. And Fafner has the flaming sword and he moves the magic into his feet. And Fafner says, look, I know that you keep telling us to be smarter about the way we fight, but we're just not that clever and we're not very good at what we do. So if being direct is all we're going to do, is all we can do, then we're going to beeline straight ahead, hard and fast. Are you with me, Manafsa? And at that moment, he uses the fire in his feet to launch himself forward at Drake. And he says, our attacks, it's going to be the same normal straightforward attacks we've always done, just harder, faster, more powerful. And he blasts himself towards Drake so fast that Drake is realising now that he cannot block it in time. And he basically gets caught. Fafner manages to land a hit on him. And Drake is saying, well, you know, genius and stupidity are two sides of the same coin. Sometimes a genius is just an idiot with an idea. Maybe these two can go that far being direct. Maybe that's the message. Maybe they can be clever about how they attack directly. Maybe they have a chance. So they finally managed to put a hit on him. And Drake, as he stumbles to the floor, he says, perhaps this kid will be able to join their number. Now, I don't know what that means. It could be a society. It could be just something in his head, but there is some significance to that. He could join their number. Who are they? Is he just talking about, you know, the geniuses with an idea? Is he just saying join their ranks? Don't know. A little bit open to interpretation. Could be something in the future. And as he stumbles to the floor and collapses, he says, all right, I'll put my bets on you two. And in the next scene, he seems to be fine. And he's drinking an espresso and he says, nothing like an espresso after a fight. And Manafsa and Fafner are kind of thinking to themselves, was he just going easy on us? Because he totally could have gotten us while we were hiding behind the rock. And they're like, best not bring that up. So maybe he was being a bit easy on them, but they managed to land a hit on them, and I like to think that they really did surprise him with the attack as well. So all's well that ends well. And to close out the chapter, Drake says that he's taught them everything that he knows. However, there's one thing that they'll have to keep in mind going forward, and that is how much power Manafsa is using. If they overexert Manafsa's power, it's going to end up in that spasm, that mystical spasm that ultimately led to Drake helping them. That's how he found them when she was in the middle of this spasm. He says if you go past the level that Manafsa is capable of, she will have one of these spasms and she'll be no use to anyone. And he says this is where this comes in, and he holds up this clock looking thing with like holes or gears, and he says this is a magic gauge. And that's where the chapter ends. So there's going to be some explanation in the next chapter as to what that is. What is a magic gauge? Guessing it's going to be some way of telling how close to a limit Manafsa is, but we'll just have to wait till the next chapter. And that's it for this week's chapter of Guardian of the Witch. I like this one again. I think there's a solid momentum being built up. We've cut away from the main overarching plot. This arc at Drake's house was much needed in my opinion. I think that the series got off to a wobbly start, but I feel like it's definitely on track now. I really enjoyed this chapter. The fighting was really good. We get to see finally Manafsa and Fafner using their powers together in combat. You get the sense that if they go up against another Guardian Witch team, they might at least stand a bit of a better chance. You know, we won't need to rely on Manafsa for just going all out, releasing our collar and, you know, blasting away. I think that they might actually have a shot. It might not be, you know, it still might be an absolute long shot for them to beat a team that's been trained, purpose built for hunting down Guardians and Witches like Gen and Ruli are, but they might still have much more of a chance than they did in the last fight. They only really got away because Gen and Ruli disappeared to go and report on Manafsa breaking her collar. Really, they were spared. I feel like if the fight went on, they may not have survived. And yeah, they just seem a bit more capable now and a bit more willing to work together. A lot of exposition is getting dumped in these chapters as well, but I think it's for the best. It's a lot of world building, and it's filling in the gaps and making this world feel a bit more lived in. When the series started, it felt a bit sterile. The world was populated, sure, but it just felt a bit like we have the witches, we have the guardians, evils are bad, there's a barren wasteland outside. Once we're outside into the world, at first I thought that maybe they were just going to hop from village to village doing little plot beats in between, but I feel like this takeaway where they've gone and met Drake has really helped the series, because we get to learn a bit more about guardians and witches from a former guardian, and it's a good way to get a bit more information about what's going on. And now that they've got some fighting prowess, it points them in the right direction. They can go off with a bit more know-how. And yeah, I feel like this particular arc, this mini arc in the middle is coming to an end. They'll be going back off on their travels, and I don't know what is next. And I'm a bit worried about that, because the series is best when they've got a focus and a goal in front of them. It's when they're wandering off towards this nebulous goal of getting to Noir. It's just the unknown in the middle is what's a bit of like what's going to go on. For the most part, I'm still enjoying the series. I'm not enjoying it as much as I would have liked. I had a lot of high hopes for this series, and it's just not living up to the expectations that I had going in, but I am still enjoying it, and it's definitely picking up with these last 3 or 4 chapters. So I'm going to continue reading it, and at least for the most part these reviews will still keep going up, because I am enjoying reviewing them as well. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this chapter. What do you think of the series as a whole? I love to talk to you guys in the comments on my videos, so let me know what you guys think. If you like these kind of videos, please make sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel and ring the bell. As I said at the start, that's the best way to get the videos as and when they come out. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Northern Soul Reaper, and until next time, goodbye.